It looks like the media really wants you to like this game by A44, a studio that worked on a previous game called Ashen, and their new game is called Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which is a game that is looking remarkably like a Souls-like game, which is the trend nowadays, to do something similar to FromSoft, and I think that is the case with this game. Of course, this game is mired in a whole host of controversy that is not talked about from media games journalists, and I think that is the suspicious thing that we're seeing nowadays, where we're getting nothing but positivity about a game that clearly has a lot of issues apparent with the overall development process, but from the games journalists themselves, there's nothing but praise and trying to find the crowd to make them love this game and the way they want this game to succeed. And this is the stark difference that we're seeing within the video gaming industry, where some outlets that want a game to achieve only talk positively about that game, and I think that's what we're seeing with Flintlock, where we're getting this positive news coverage about this game. And when you compare this to the dichotomy of what's happening with Black Myth Wukong, it is a stark contrast, where Black Myth Wukong can't get a good title for the life of the game, where it's always being criticized for things that there is no proof of actually occurring. There's just constant criticism of this game until the date of its release, and I think that's the situation that we're seeing within the video gaming industry, the stark bias when you know media friends are working with these companies, and that is exactly what's happening with Flintlock Siege of Dawn. It is working with one of the biggest consultancy firms out there, and I'm talking about Sweetbaby Inc. Sweetbaby Inc. is the consultancy firm that is working with this game, specifically the CEO of Sweetbaby Inc., who actually has a say on how the character was, how the story developed, and how the character would change throughout the game. And I think that's the main thing. The character was race swap. Someone that used to work for Sweetbaby Inc. is associated with the management and the co-development of this game. You can see some of the commentary from Kim Belair and the studio execs that actually worked with this game. They talked about how she took the wonderful bass player, the wonderful bass layer Derek had and the world, and just elevated it to something else. And this is coming from the new COO of the game that is focused on actually producing and injecting a lot of DEI elements in the game, and of course funding her own personal production companies when it comes towards this game. And this is the controversy that I'm talking about when it comes to Flintlock. After the CEO and COO left, she took the position of COO, brought her own production, VFX staff, funneled money into that, fired a bunch of employees that were competently creating a game, and brought in Sweetbaby Inc. and changed the vision of the game, race swapped the character, and made someone that looks remarkably similar to herself in the role as the main character, at least a younger version of herself. And I think this is something we often see with these consultancy firms, with these DEI appointments within these companies, usually try to make a game about themselves, or at least have the look of themselves in the game. And I think this is what we constantly see in modern day gaming when it comes to these activists that get into power. They constantly want to see themselves in every single production that they're working on, and I think this is something we're not used to seeing in the past with past developers that were just focused on games. They usually try to make something that is more otherworldly, out of this world, or just not even in the concept of who they are. They try to have an idealized version of characters that would attract the player base, but this is the opposite nowadays. We have this self-narcissism, we have this kind of adept narcissism that has taken over the video gaming space, where we're having people come into the gaming space and just try to force the developers to make something that looks like the characters, that looks like the development team, or the new DEI hires on the block, or the new people they want to represent in the game. And I think that is the thing that we're seeing within the gaming industry right now, where there's just a lack of attention to the qualities of the game and more focus on representation. People are frustrated with this game, some of the controversies that are surrounding the game that are not even being talked about within these gaming magazines, because of course if you do talk about it, you're probably going to be accused of being a bigot, racist, misogynist, every single ism in the world, because they just want to discredit you and kind of depowering the words that once had meaning. When it concerns the bad elements of society, now it just means I don't like you, so I'm going to call you everything in the book to discredit you. And I think that's a sad state of affairs when it comes to journalism and pointing out things that are going on within the industry. And I think this game itself is clearly working and depending on the favoritism from the games journalists. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because we're seeing the stark difference between Black Myth Wukong, which rejected a $7 million extortion attempt from Sweetbaby Inc. in order order for them to be consultants on their game. Seeing that rejection, as they offered this $7 million compensation fee, they waved around IGN, Kotaku, in the Gamer article saying, see, your game is evil, you need our help. And that didn't persuade them. Of course, after that non-persuasive act, they came out with multiple more hit pieces on this title. And I think that's what we're seeing the opposite with Flintlock Siege of Dawn, where it's not about bombarding the game with negative titles and negative reviews or negative perceptions and previews. No, it's about trying to spread positivity about a game that is flailing. And they want this to succeed because all the right people are behind the production. You have DEI hires within the overall CEO and the development process of the game. You have Sweetbaby Inc. involved in the development process of the game. You have all the right actors. They paid the extortion fee to the studio of this game. So they want this game to succeed, to have some proof of concept that they actually do help video game development companies actually have some modicum of success. And of course, that's not the case. The only major successes Sweetbaby Inc. has is from games that were already bound to be successes. I'm talking about God of War. I'm talking about Spider-Man 2. These games were hyped and people weren't aware of the issues that were arising in the video gaming industry when it comes to forcing these representation politics within the gaming industry. Of course, once we played Spider-Man 2, we realized something was off. Like, why can't I play as Peter Parker as much as I want to? Why is Mary Jane the most powerful person in the planet? And why am I stuck playing this angry version of Miles Morales that is annoying to play as? And I think that's the situation that we're seeing bear out in the industry right now, where these games that they did have success with are flailing. And I think only God of War is the best example of their input, where they only just race swap one female character. I think this is a situation that we're seeing spread and develop in the industry, where people are noticing the differences between publications, how they represent certain games and how they disrespect other games. And I think with Black Myth Wukong, we saw the disrespect of that entire series after they didn't pay the $7 million extortion fee. And now we're seeing the overabundance of respect and sensitivity to a game that is flailing and may be an overall failure for the studio that paid the extortion fee. And I think that is the essential case seeing here that I want to express in people to see that there is a difference in handling of these stories, and it's all down to the people that are working on the game and if the extortion fee was paid. And I think with A44 Studios, they paid the extortion fee. They paid consultancy firms like Sweetbaby Inc. They brought in people associated with Sweetbaby Inc. to manage the game, to race swap the game, to do everything they could to make the game into their ideal form of representation. And I'm thinking this is going to be the future of gaming if the game players do not respond in the positive way and not let this game become a massive success because they follow the industry insiders and what they want this game to be. Of course, if the game is good, I'm going to praise it, but I'm not going to give it the chance that they're trying to force us to give it. I'm going to be a hard reviewer, and when I look at this game, I'm going to give it a chance though. Hopefully that actually makes something good for once, and I'm going to doubt that to a high degree, especially when the positive reviews come in. You can't believe the positivity around this game, because I think it's going to come out with all 8s and 9s, and game players are going to try to flock towards it, and maybe it won't be the game people expected it to be, because these entities that are giving the positive reviews are all bought and paid for. But you tell me what you think about the situation. What do you think is going to happen with this game? I think it is polluted with Sweetbaby Inc.'s influence, and it has a whole host of other issues with the overall development process. But you leave your comments, tell me what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.